I'm gonna stream. Good morning, everyone. Morning. It's 10 minutes. It's 40 minutes later than I'm supposed to have started, which is okay. So this morning was Good morning. Hi. Welcome. My name is Lee. I am. Yeah. Today has been a day, but I don't want to not do anything because if I don't stream, then I will have. It's like um. Okay. The thing about this is, if I screw up and don't stream, I will have missed an entire week of streaming, okay? And I don't know how to explain how bad that is. It's not even like hi, what am I doing? My name is Lee, and today is not a good day. But I'm here because if I don't stream today, then I will have missed an entire week's worth of streaming. And I can't um I can't justify that. You know what I mean? Because it's only Balticon. There were 3 days: Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 4 days worth of stuff. And yeah, I guess like Monday, large swaths of it was working on Miss Falcon. So I did actually do a full day of stuff work on Monday. But like, and then okay, I lost all of Tuesday. All of the time I would have slept Monday night, I lost to travel, and then so I got 2 hours of maybe sleep, and then off to work, and it's just like, and then I screwed up on Wednesday morning and on Thursday morning and missed important things in the morning. And so that yesterday meant doing all of that. And it's just, I'm crashing and burning because of, this is where the crash after the con comes in. And I have to do it again this weekend. And I have to run another game on, on Saturday. So Saturday is going to be hell. Tomorrow I have to run a game that I'm only somewhat prepared for. Um, and it's just I didn't want to rant too much. I wanted to stream and I didn't stream just to rant at you guys. I promise you, I streamed for a very good reason. Um, okay. What I needed to do was, um, is not do that. Yes. Okay. So, what I meant to do was go to my own Discord and tell everyone I'm streaming. Um, I feel like after a while, if you stop doing something, it fails. You can't really come back to it. So when you set that up, it um yeah, when you so you have to at least stream something, because if I don't stream at least something, I will have lost momentum of streaming. And I feel like I could do something fun with this stream. So, welcome on in. My name is Lee. If you're watching this later, sorry you have to listen to me ranting. I'm sorry you have to listen to me ranting anyway, but I guess it's worse if you're listening, because, like, you can't do anything about it. Like, if you were listening to this live, you could at least send an encouraging message or say hi or something. Okay, so they're going to do an ad break. I'm going to get my water in from the other room because I was supposed to have been doing something, supposed to have is a strong word. I've been setting myself up. We're going to do this. I have my meds. I have that I forgot to take. I have, which is probably why I can't do shit today. So, yeah. Also, I shouldn't swear so much. I've got this. I've got, what do we got? We're going to go to my downloads. Um, oh, right, this one. That stays. Okay. Plan is do that. Then we're going to go and I'm going to move some of my um, stuff from downloads to the appropriate folders, and we're going to look at fun stuff. We're going to find some fun RPG stuff that I have, because I know I have something fun I haven't even looked at yet, and we can look at it together, and it'll be a good time. So, that's when the ad starts. It's going to start any minute now, and then, yes. Okay, beautiful. Okay. Alright. Okay, I'm back. Perfect timing. Okay, give me 30 seconds, and I will open this up. And voila! Yay, me. Okay. Now, we are going to scooch this. Oh, why is it so... That's a good size for it. Okay, then... Sorry, I'm adjusting things and tweaking and all sorts of useful things. Okay, now... What we're going to do is open up... Okay, now we're going to... There we go. Alright, so... I have 3 PDFs that are from the swamp. Oh, and Battle Zoo. Okay. I might need a entire Battle Zoo folder. Just, Oh, that is the legislative district of... Okay, so let's start with this one. I'm gonna put them in cool stuff from the swamp. And one of them is... so, Susan? Okay, let me... no. Then we go to here, and I will show you this. So we have a fun thing already. Yay! And all this stuff has to get done. So we are just... You're just helping me do all this. So, Susan, female, first level ranger, Swanme. Okay. I think that's probably important setting information that I... Um, but, alright. So, I have this first level ranger, human, chaotic goodman. So, her highest status con. That's an interesting poll. Well, this is, I believe, no, Ben left because they're on the percentage. So, this is for Osric, which is basically a clone of first edition D&D. The early, first and early second. 9 charisma. I know sucks. But yeah, this is Susan. Susan. I get all these, what was I gonna say? Little pre-gens as a kind of a Patreon bonus from being part of, Chantel's Patreon. I only need to put a better link to her. Hang on. I might have a setup for her. She's on the Discord. No. So the bot is working. I just don't know if Chantel, no. I don't have her set up. Okay. I do need to set her up eventually, because, yay. So, yeah. She does So I have some of her more completed works. If you go on Drive the RPG, you can get some of the actual adventures. But um, part of being part of her Patreon is that I get these guys, and I've asked her before, and she said yes, if as a patron I can share them, which I appreciate her letting me do. But they're fun to pick over, and it's just an interesting we can do. Um, I've looked at some of the more intensive ones others, but I keep them all in a specific folder so that I can help organize all my cool TTRPG stuff I get. Um, I have to move them from like this was last at some point. Let me see file date 317. That one. Sure. Um, maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm just anyway. But oh, that's a song. I can put another still one. I have all sorts of things. Monster Erotica, Monsters of America, um, preview spells. Yeah. So, mm-hmm. No, anyway, so that's Sisian. She's demon woman. Uh, well, human female, but I'm guessing woman. Swanmei, not good. So she can have up to 4 hench people, but no loyalty. 0% reaction, so not great reflexes either. That means she only starts next. Okay. So, an interesting thing. Saves are in Osrek your saves are um depends on what you're saving against in part. Which is different than how in 5e it's based on what type of save. So Pathfinder 2. Um so you have reflex saves, you've got or dexterity save. In D&D you have 5 you have one type of save for in 5e oh, this is mechanics. Nonsense. Okay, so in 5e you have one type of save for each of the 6 stats. Intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. In Pathfinder, first edition, those are down to 3. You got reflex saves, um, um, reflex saves. What's the other ones? Will saves and fortitude saves. So essentially, because it's shrunk down, so one for um, honestly is fair. But so in 5th edition, you get the bonus from the stat plus if your particular character is type proficient in it, you get a bonus proficiency bonus. That's it. In Pathfinder First Edition, which is something I played for years, so how you go with that is you get a bonus based on your, um, you get a plus based on your class, or you get a plus based on your, um, uh, what's the word? You get the bonus based on your stats, and instead of having either proficiency or non-proficiency, what you have is an entire table for each class. Instead of just being proficient or not proficient in a particular type of save, gets an entire table of how much of a bonus they get in each save, which are more than others. Which I think is kind of cool. Um, which means that even if your class isn't particularly good at it, you still do get, as a 15th level character, you still do get a small bonus on saves you're not proficient in. or proficient in. You get a small bonus on all of your saves, not just the ones your class is particularly prone to being good at, which I think, um, even if the stat itself hasn't improved. And I think that's actually good. I kind of like that. But Pathfinder is all about crunch and um, degrees of being, you know. Whereas 5e is you can either do something you can't in a lot of cases, like maybe you get doubled for some, um, but and I think Pathfinder 2 kind of tried to slim that down a little bit while still keeping a lot of the crunch that allows for more flexibility. Um, I'm not super familiar with first second edition Pathfinder. I will admit. Um, but yes. So my point is, early stuff though. What happened is the save DC is based on um, a character level, how proficient your character is, and it's different, not based on um, what type of save it is. So, but what you're saving against. So you get a one type of save for rods, one type of save against spells, one against breath weapon, or a different save against petrification. Um, so it basically means it varies based on what you're saving against rather than how you're saving. So, um, uh, for example, in 5th edition or Pathfinder um, 1st edition, probably even 2nd edition, the save for a fireball versus the save for a dragon's breath is the same. It's a dexterity save, so how good you are at the save or how likely you are to succeed is based on how you good are at dex or reflex saves. Which bonuses you get for those varies slightly, but it's basically how good you are at that particular type of save. Reflex, which I'm out of the way. In early editions, it was breath weapons were a different type of save than spells, so basically how good are you avoiding breath weapons versus how good are you avoiding spells. Um, Whereas if just breath weapon was say sync breath and it would cost a con save, or dex save, or it was a like fire breath and it cost a dex save, it didn't matter. It was a breath weapon, therefore it was still you got the same bonus. Whereas if a spell caused was like a succubus, like a control spell that caused a will type save versus a fireball which caused a dex type save, it didn't matter. It was how good you were at saving its spells. And no, I think if I recall correctly, you could add whatever ability bonus it was as well. But I think it's just an interesting way of doing things. Um, and of course the armor class going backward. Um, um, Basically, um, armor class is 3. It's not 3 on a scale of uh, what they roll to hit, and they have to beat it. It's a 3 on a basis of they have a certain to hit armor class 0, and um, which isn't listed here. The Thaco isn't listed here, which I feel like you're listing the armor class. It's definitely in the negative armor class scales down, but you don't list the Thaco, and I feel like that's um, interesting. I'm sure there's a way to figure it out. Um, Languages, sprite. They know how to speak to sprites. That's interesting. No XP earned because it's first level character. And they have equipment, small share, bow, 20 arrows, feather ring. Is that ring of featherfall, I wonder, or if the feather is something else? That's backpack, bedroll, boots. No gold pieces or magic items, so they're broke and have nothing fancy. That's okay. Um, Number of one attack per round, which is a weapon damage base. It's a short sword. It's a D6. It's as large as a D8. So, um, hmm, yeah. I see my knowledge of the system is not ideal, but or is it? It's a D6 against smaller creatures and a D8 against larger creatures. That's the thing. It's different against the size of the creature. Um, which yeah, so it's a D8 against larger creatures. And then a certain small neutral gets clumped in with medium. So it's a D6 against most creatures, but a D8 against bigger creatures. One attack per round. 12-inch movement base, which is based on a map, as opposed to basing it on the scale, which is fair. Um, okay, hang on. Oh shoot. Okay, yeah, you are not doing so good. Hang on. Yeah, my oof, sorry. Computer is really not doing so well. It's overheating. It is definitely overheating. Hang on. Let me try to get you some. Okay. That we don't need to use. So we're gonna do this, and if you give me, hang on, let me see the timing. So we got a fun little stream in. Okay, I'm going to. So 4 minutes. I'm trying to figure out if I can last it out with 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes. Um, which would. Slide of liquid. Okay. Still have 0 viewers, as it turns out, but that's not necessarily important because I know I don't always get viewers. And I know I'm not always going to have people watching during the streams, which is fine. Um, but it'll still be recorded for posterity, which is kind of cool. If I don't forget to put it up, which I'm going to have to do as well. But I'm going to have to, yeah, we're going to have to do something about this. Let's see. Try to figure out how to. Um, this might be actually the best way to do it. So, this creates good, as long as it doesn't collapse. So then we can, yes. Alright, that gives me a good spot to put coolant in. Okay, I'm gonna have to cool this. Well, it's a little better now with the airflow, at least. Oh, that's from outside. Okay. Yes, this computer tends to overheat very easily and is just. Oof. Okay, but I think we're good for now. I'm gonna go and. Okay, so in 3 minutes, the pre-roll ads will come back on. In which case, then I'm gonna do another ad. I'm gonna voluntarily run a 1 minute ad so I can get that set up, and that will keep the pre-rolls off for a while, and then that will. Right? Yes, that'll keep the pre-rolls off for a while. Because generally you could wait until the ad breaks. I appreciate you being patient with the ad breaks. Because it helps me out as a creator, as a streamer, as someone who does this. Granted, I'm not nearly professional, and as I've shown with the past few days, barely even good at being an amateur. But I did get one boost, so it is helping a little bit, and I appreciate all of you coming. All of you who come and watch the streams and occasionally poke your head in. Like, that helps me a lot. It means something, not necessarily. It's a little bit of a boost to the ego, but it just, like, the fact that people would want to come and hang out with me and watch me stream my nonsense. Um, and go over character sheets for. Um, yeah, going over character sheets for a first level ranger who can speak to sprites and worships Morgan the Muses. Interesting. Yeah. Who has a terrible charisma and can speak to sprites. That's kind of like a cool character concept. I would need. I think. I think I have enough to play them mechanically. I would just have to like look up a few things in the Aspect rules, and I think if I just like if I got a copy of the Aspect rules and could check something on the Ranger, I bet I could play them mechanically. It has everything I need, and it's um, um so that's pretty cool. 20 hit points though, which is good for a first level character. 20 hit points is pretty solid, and that actually and armor class of 3 is also pretty good. So yeah. All right, let me do that. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna close this. Then we're going to put this. Oh, right, because I moved it to there. That's why it was in there. Um, 513 was that. So, um, sorts of stuff. Okay, there we go. Let me see on the downloads if there's any. The Battle Zoo stuff. Battle Zoo Jeweled. So Battle Zoo is amazing, amazing counters. So Amazing Counters is CZRPG, which I also have. 5e compatible, um, potentially blank. Um, so the authors and cover artists, cover art, no cover art. So there's no artist listed for this. Huh. Cartography, Jeremy Kimberling. Layout artist is Anya Svare, so maybe Anya did the cover art too, or that was from some other thing that they already did. They reused art that they'd already had from someone else. And interior artist is Marvin Ladder, Kumarka art. So he probably did the top cover art too. Um, wait a second, we were doing this. Yes, we pulled this up last time. Where all the different locations are meant to be dragged and dropped into the game. Yes, because the first one, the first big encounter thing was um, the King of Jotunheim. Yes, there's the giant who was the last giant who then trained the Goliath, his like little Goliath that he adopted, his tribe of Goliath that he had adopted, into being the ones to have the ballista. So that they had to construct a ballista to kind of keep up because they can't pull the bow that he has. So they created a ballista. They were building a ballista, but they needed all sorts of materials and experts and stuff um, that um, right, and then this guy, the cousin of one of the ones who turned in to help them, Roberta Ethanor. And who's his cousin who's actually helping the giant sprite. We went over this. I remember this. This was the first one on this, which is pretty cool. That's why. Okay, so that's that. We could go off and I could show you some of the other ones they have. Um, so for those of you who don't, who weren't watching last time, I don't remember when last time was exactly, but this kind of, hey, let's see what kind of PDFs I have of things. It's not particularly uncommon, so when I noticed this, I was like, oh, um, I had done it in a previous one, um, a previous stream. I don't remember exactly which stream, but I remember doing it, and and it should be either available either as VOD or as up on YouTube, which I do put all the VODs up on YouTube eventually, and it is. I don't know how many people watch them. Apparently, a couple of people, so that's fun. Um, but yeah, if you ever are bored and want to hang out with me and I'm not live streaming, you can go and watch all the VODs and watch me babble about other stuff. But you can't do you can't do the chat. And I'm better now at getting to the point than I was then, stuttered less, and all that jazz. So they're not as good. And then, and you can watch the ones that have me before I transitioned, girl version of me babbling about all the Rogue Trader that I a Rogue Trader campaign that, not the one that I run on this channel now, but an earlier Rogue Trader campaign that I ran for a bunch of friends that I was, telling people about because I was so excited it happened. Like it was so much fun. So I wanted to I made these summary videos. They weren't very good, and they feature rudimentary editing. So you can check them out if you're bored and are curious. Hang on. Now we're getting to a point where yes, pre-rolls on. Okay, so let me. This is what we're gonna do. I'm going to. Yeah, it's heating up again. Okay, I'm going to run 60-second ad. I'm gonna run a 60-second ad because that'll turn the pre-roll off. You guys will have an ad break. I will go up, stretch, get some water. I encourage you to go do the same. Go up, stretch, get liquid, and I will get coolant for the computer who's doing all the heavy lifting, and we will. So we won't have to worry about that one as much. Okay. All right. See you back in a minute. All right. Um. All right. Hang on. I'm back. Hey. All right. There we go. Okay. Um. Hang on. 30 seconds. Let me do a thing. Um. Put that in there. Okay. And it's this. Oh, it's a Space 1889. So Space 1889 is from um 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 right. So this is a different one. This is a Space in 1889 um dire engines of Aethra, which we went over on this very stream. We talked about the Dire Engines of Aethra, which I had. And we talked about that, and we talked about, we went through that one all the way through. Like, we went out, took multiple streams, so we did. And this is another, that's that same, manning the environment as such, the characters themselves constitute the entity of the cast, at least at first. The characters have limited tools at hand to observe the strange black spell transformation, and even those creatures eventually consumption of the entirety of their home asteroid. For that first part of the adventure, survival is key, and the character cast, that's the PCs, must assert themselves with pluck and inventiveness just to keep themselves alive. Later, when the rock-devouring beasts demonstrate not only their ravenous potential, but also limited mobility around the solar system and the inherent threat that implies, other interested parties who catch wind of these occurrences send agents to expand the cast. So you will get help from NPCs once the NPCs realize, oh shoot, this is a thing that's happening. Hopefully help. I would think help, because you're trying to... Each sends emissary equipped to appreciate the situation. Alright. So, interesting. Masters of Energy and the Cult of the Worm. The former dedicated to the efficient mastery of many worlds and representing the role of every living thing within that scheme, are keen to understand the black shells and how they might be fitted most efficiently into that mastery. The latter, so they might want to exploit this rather than stop it. So you've got to be careful with that. The latter, bent on the destruction of every world, as foretold by the worm, cannot help but see the black shells as the worm given means toward an anthropic end. Oh, cool. So you don't get help from NPCs. You get screwed over by NPCs who realize the same thing you do and want to react to it differently. That's exciting stuff. Okay. This is probably more of the lore of the area and other groups that have stake in things. Neutralize Sovereign One and render that Overlord's operation on the asteroid Aethra inoperative. If that adventure concluded otherwise, then the characters need only to be returned there to find the tiny world deserted by all but the blue shell Cenoites, who have been left alone to their own devices. Okay. So these were the creatures that had been enslaved by Sovereign One and had been, and had rebelled, and in that adventure, the party had actively aided their rebellion. A lot of it. Have their own ship, be it Mollyhawk or Trailblazer, on which to travel the ether. Okay, so they do have a ship of sorts. Alright, excellent. So if they didn't, if that's not how, if you ran that or didn't run it, in the case maybe, and it ended differently, then, if they, for example, managed to bug out and leave without Sovereign One even realizing they were there, then Sovereign One gets defeated by someone else or dies through other causes. Dies is wrong. Sovereign One is was enslaving the Cenoites and other such things. Ugh. But so this one, who's Claudia Worthington Smith? A lady of considerable charms, Miss Worthington Smith, is the niece of Colonel Ewan, I believe is how you pronounce that. It's a Welsh name. Ewan Smith? Ewan, yeah. Ewan Smith? Alright, Alright, we are going to look up pronunciation for this Welsh name. So, it's spelled with one L. Apparently, it's more commonly spelled with two L's. Give me 30 seconds.
There are all kinds of drivers out there. That's why Progressive Snapshot personalizes your insurance.
We looking at how to pronounce this name, as well as how to say more interesting Welsh and
Okay. There we go.
Irish names. This is a boy's name of Welsh origin, meaning leader's image. How do you go about pronouncing it? In Wales, it is said something along the lines of Llywelyn.
Llewellyn?
Llewellyn.
Llewellyn. Llewellyn. Well, okay, if you're gonna keep the L, then it makes sense you'd only write it as one. Llewellyn? Llewellyn? Seems to be Llewellyn, I think, is the closest I can come. Smith. Of the House of Lords. Oh, wow, he's in the House, Colonel of the House of Lords. And is therefore a darling of the London social set. Llewellyn, okay, so Colonel Llewellyn Smith of the House of Lords. Claudia Worthington Smith is his niece. So Colonel Smith, sorry, Colonel Smith, I cannot say your name properly. House of Lords, darling of the London social set. On learning of the Black Shell situation, her associates among the Masters of Energy, to whom her allegiance is a matter of considerable discretion. Okay, ask her to assess the beasts and their disposition with an eye toward harnessing them through capture and scientific investigation, but keep them out of the hands of nefarious, non-British, enemies. Okay. So we've got shenanigans afoot. Okay, so that is definitely national interests. Yes, this world still has countries, which, a lot of worlds have countries. That's not a big deal, but that does create a political motive on stuff like this, where you say, okay, well, keep them out of the enemy's hands. If the enemy is non-British, okay. Interesting. I wonder if Ireland. It's an interesting question. Yes. Okay. She arrives on the scene aboard a swift ether flyer with a handful of skilled nebbishes who follow her instructions to the letter. Will they be enough to carry out her will? Unlikely, but Lady Worthington Smith is one who can easily recruit new allies among those already on the scene. Her agenda is to evaluate the black shells, examine them scientifically, keep them away from non-British enemies, report back to the Masters of Energy. She's reserved but ruthless. These creatures have a right to exist, and they may even be harnessed to the greater good, and by that I mean the greater good of England. Okay, fair. Then you got Yuri Davidovich Balkov. Interesting. Davidovich. That is an interesting name. So Ovich is a Russian suffix that creates what's called a patronymic, which is Ovna or Ovich, depending on male or female. I don't know what you do with a non-binary person. Presumably they'd pick one or the other or try to come up with something else, but I don't know what that would be. I would have to ask Russian speaking NBs should there be any. I'm sure there are some. So Balkov is so Davidovich or Davidovich, depending on David or David, it depends on pronunciation, depends on ethnicity and which name exactly, but that means that's David or David is Yuri's father, or a father figure who he's choosing to use the patronymic of because his own father's a piece of shit, which you can do. But that's interesting, which means hypothetically an English-speaking father, but a very Russian name. I mean, multicultural worlds exist, so, like, I went, when I was taking Russian class, I set my own patronymic as Timotheevna. Because there was no sound in, if I recall correctly, you couldn't do sound. Timotheevna. But I think now I would set it as Timotheovich, but still, it would imply that father's name was Timothy and it was a Russian, with a Russian patronymic. Now, the rest of his name's also Russian, which would also indicate something. I don't know what it is. Metal Scarred Hulk of Man. Balkov's hard life as a refugee, conscript soldier, partisan, and mercenary all but delivered him to the worm on a silver platter. He's a zealot, merciless and cruel, dedicated to the extinction of all planets and all who live upon them, as the worm has foretold. Dispatched to ascertain the truths of the black shell's destructive power, Balkov wastes no time getting a ship and crew of Tartar ruffians. Okay. To seize the opportunity by force of arms. Okay, Tartar suggests that Russia is not unified in this universe. Sorry, I'm bringing my own cultural knowledge and background to this, all of this, but my own limited knowledge of. But Tartar ruffians, it might suggest that Russian isn't as unified. Noted. Or maybe it's just a cultural descriptor in that Russia is unified. They just are of that particular descent. Seize the opportunity by force of arms as if there are any other way to get things done. Evaluate the black shells, secure them for the cult, let no others do the same. Demanding and ruthless. They're all ruthless. These things are what they are. To study them is a waste of time. Okay. Waste of time, and they should be turned loose on the universe to destroy. Whereas the creatures have a right to exist, and need to be harnessed for the greater good, but they shouldn't be left to their destructive capabilities because that would be bad. I'm guessing the player characters, at least hopefully, are we shouldn't let these things destroy everything, and we might have to kill them if necessary. Miss Worthington Smith is we should absolutely, they have a right to exist, and they can be harnessed for greater power as long as it's England and not one of their enemies who has them. And then you've got Balkov, who is like, no, it's a waste of time to study them. We're just going to turn them loose on the world because everything has to die anyway. They're a very powerful weapon, and studying them is dumb. Let's just turn them loose, which is, at least from what I can believe. So that's pretty epic. Okay, sorry, so yeah. So basically the players are confronted with these creatures, these dangerous creatures, and how they get turned is an interesting one. Because that's, I think, the key. If the blue shells are turning into these sort of destructive, it's probably a negative to them, too. I mean, black shells have a right to exist, sure, but I feel like if they're going through some sort of rapid transformation, that would probably be distressing and dangerous and maybe a virus of some sort. Okay. Okay, the asteroid belts exist far across the ether from the main worlds of Earth, Mars, and Venus. The characters may need to cross it to seek help or deliver information about their black shell discovery. Also, witnessing their consumption on the planetoid Aethera, turning into a living mass of hungry black shells and pushing themselves slowly across space toward the nearest consumable bit of rock, which is asteroid 788KL, will all take place amid the ether. Most likely, ether-capable vessel available to the characters. It may have been damaged during the previous adventure, and as such may not be reliable as hoped. Still, a plucky crew can whip it into shape to carry out the mission here. Mollymog. Aethra, of what's left of it, that's the planet they were all on before the previous adventure took place there. A fragment of the legendary world Phaeton. The prototype black tail is discovered here, and unless stopped, it reproduces prodigiously, leading to a rapid consumption of the entire planetoid, leaving behind a newly equivalent planetary object made entirely of black shells and referred to as the Blob. The Blob itself can also be investigated, and the outermost black shells hibernate tightly locked against each other together against the frigid rigors of deep space. Huh. Okay, so 788KL, a nondescript cold rock discovered by German astronomers, catalogued but never visited by anyone. It just happens to be the nearest source of food for the Blob, which senses it and begins moving toward it. The characters could easily reach it first and set up some kind of defense against the rock-munching cenoids. The idea is that if it eats 788KL is not necessarily in and of itself particularly valuable, or, it's just rock, it doesn't have anything going for it, but if it gets eaten, A, it probably shifts the gravity of everything around it, but B, they could eat other stuff that actually has people living on it, and therefore, This adventure begins where dire engines of Aether left off, most likely with Sovereign 1 and its minions vanquished, and the Blue Cell Cenoids scattered, wounded, and otherwise dispersed throughout the interior of Aether Planetoid. The characters, fatigued and possibly wounded as well, take stock of themselves and their successes, retaining most of their equipment and their ship, which is most likely the Mollymock, in anticipation of a journey back to the inner system to collect their laurels. Or not. If the previous adventure's conclusion was more destructive and unsuccessful, the characters may be less willing and able to deal with the unfolding events of this adventure. And if so, so be it. These events unfold regardless. Should they need to dig deep and muster a second wind to deal with these new problems, opportunities, then the situation will play out more desperately than it might otherwise. Interesting. Either way, what quickly transpires is the rapid transformation of one of the blue shells into a more evolved black shell form. A horrific, sickening metamorphosis that's loud, foul-smelling, and grotesque. If the character has taken it upon themselves to assess Aethra's final state, or even check on the blue shells left alive, the person may witness the boisterous, smelly change from its very onset. If no one has ventured deeper into Aethra, then the screaming torment reaches their ears, an eerie and alarming harbinger of the natural process that threatened them anew. Interesting. Huh. I wonder what's causing. I think the main thing of this is probably going to be something like figure out what's causing this. I mean, I have to read the whole thing and figure it out from there, but it seems like interesting. Like, I want to do this again, actually. Okay, I think, though, this 301, I have to go, also have to go to work at day job, and I usually end the stream around 3, and I know we got started late. I do know that. So it's not as long a stream as I would have hoped, and we had to have another, well, we would have had one anyway, I think. Um, um, Still, I appreciate you all coming to hang out with me. Those few who did. Did we actually get any viewers? We might not have had any viewers, which means this one is entirely on VOD. Hopefully someone watches that on VOD. If not, no pressure. It'll end up these things, and I will go back over it again if we go back to the back shells, which I think we should because it sounds interesting. Thank you all for watching. Anyone watching on VOD or YouTube later, which is also VOD, just a different form of VOD. Thank you. Appreciate you all. Since we don't have viewers, I'm probably not even going to do a raid, but because it would just be me. But I do appreciate it all. We are going to end the stream. Take care of yourselves. If you're watching this, either now or in the future at some point, take care of yourselves. Hydrate, rest. This is stuff you need to do. And don't beat yourself up too much about dumb stuff that you do, because eventually you're going to have, yes, you have to rally yourself and do better, but you can only do so much, and um, don't let it go beyond fuel for doing better, is my plan, um, because otherwise that's just pointless. What was I going to say? Okay, yes, all of that, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.